Shane Watts won 6 races en route to the #1 plate. Starting 2001, the laid-back Australian wanted to go 13 for 13. His quest for a perfect season got off to a dominating start. Watts and his KTM won the season opener for the 3rd straight year. Today he goes for win number 2 at the Rebel Run in Macon, Georgia. The Grand National Cross Country Series is next on Fox Sports Net. Cross-country racing is coming your way on Fox Sports Net. It's the Grand National Cross Country Series presented by Suzuki. The Rebel Run, round 2 of the series from Macon, Georgia. Hello everyone, I'm Larry Myers. Welcome to Fox Sports Net and Grand National Cross Country Championship Racing. Now the site of round 1, full of wide open sand trails, did not present much of a technical problem for Shane Watts, the defending champ, and the rest of the field. As a result, Shane just ran away with things. But here in Georgia at Paradise Park, things are a little different. This track can be very slippery. This track is full of very technical, tight woods. Can Shane still dominate? Can he still run away and hide? Well, the answer to that question might be found with my broadcast partner, Mark Hyde, who knows everything there is to know about going fast in the woods. What about it, Mark?
Well, I don't know about that, Larry, but I do know this. KTM's Shane Watts, it's not going to bother him what kind of track we ride. It could be dry, rough, wet, muddy. He's going to go fast on everything we see this year. If the other guys want to beat him, they're going to have to get after it from the drop of the green flag till they see that checkered flag.
Well, there might be just a little more incentive for the other guys because Shane Watts came out at the beginning of the series and says, I want to win every round. And then he backed that statement up with, in fact, I think I can do it. Now, what about in the pits? What are the other guys going to be thinking?
Well, I think if Shane would have thought about what he said before he said it, especially after trying to qualify for the Daytona Supercross yesterday, he might have reworded those phrases just a little bit. But that's just Shane's attitude. The way he is, being from Australia, he says what he thinks, and usually he does what he says. Typical Australian attitude. For more on the attitudes of the riders in the pits, let's go to our own Jen Hildreth.
Larry, everyone guns for the champion anyway. The #1 plate in a motorcycle might as well be circled in a bullseye. And when the champion comes down and says he might never lose to these guys, he's just done the impossible. He's given his competitors one more reason to try a little harder.
Shane's a great rider and all, but you know, maybe he's saying it to try to play with all of our minds, but I mean, it doesn't bother me. I'm going to go out there and do my best every race, and I don't think anybody can win every race.
I myself get fired up by it and just get fueled by it, so I hope he says that every time, because especially at the starting line, I have my mechanics or my wife kind of stress what they know will fire me up before the race, so that's not a good thing to say to me.
You know, I'm not going to take nothing away from Shane. He's a hell of a rider. He's one of the smoothest riders out there. He's strong, and he can win under any condition. But we're going to do the best we can as a Suzuki team and, you know, to come back and win this championship.
Despite the field gunning for him, the KTM star is a lot more humble than you might think. But know this, Shane is confident in his ability to succeed.
Everyone's got the chance of winning, you know, every race, but you know, it's going to be very difficult. A lot of great riders out there, and I'll definitely try my best. I've won a lot of races in the past, and hopefully we can keep that going again this year. And yeah, I'd love to be able to win every race this year.
Larry, I have no intention of selling my house to bet against him. Shane Watts is fast, and more importantly, he's extremely consistent.
The point standings represent the finishing order from the opening round, and KTM's Watts is on top. Now, noticeable by their absence are the Kawasaki riders who missed round 1 due to injury. Now, here in Macon, they're looking to make up points.
I'm just hoping I can hold on for 3 hours. I'm having troubles kind of like twisting, and I mean, any little bounce to my back, I can feel really, you know, it's amplified, I guess you'd say. So I just really go out there and try to make the best of it, because every race counts, and hopefully I can do the best I can today and move on. And we got another race in 2 weeks, and by then I should be fully ready.
It's worse when you seem to know that you're injured because you're actually thinking about it all the time. If I didn't realise that I was injured, then maybe it wouldn't be a bad thing. But again, if you don't realise that, then you're riding with it with a serious injury. Then you're doing yourself a long-term problem. So right now, it's just a case of see how it goes and just take it one lap at a time, really.
Larry, this is not the best track to try a comeback on, but for Team Green, they don't have any other choice. With the new point system this year, Freddie Andrews and Paul Edmondson, they have to make things happen now.
Okay, Mark, the field is full of top-notch riders that could win this thing. Who, in your opinion, should we be looking at? Who else is out there that could take that checkered flag?
Well, none other than Shane Watts' teammate, KTM's Mike Lafferty. This course being tighter woods, Mike being the national Neuro champ, this will suit his style well. Also, the Team Suzuki guys of Steve Hatch and Mike Krudowski, they finished 2-3 in Florida last week. But also, Mike Krudowski, he hasn't done anything in the woods yet so far in the series. So this will be an interesting one for him. Also, their third guy in the Suzuki camp, Rodney Smith. This is a good track for him. He's won here in the past. So let's look for Rodney to do well. Also, Scott Summers is recovering nicely from his broken leg. And I think Scott, even though he's not 100%, he's going to be moving up the ladder.
Stage is set. When we come back, we'll drop the green flag on Fox Sports Net. Grand National Cross Country Racing is brought to you by Suzuki, CD Boots, and by Honda with deals to move on. Welcome back to Paradise Park. I'm Larry Myers along with Mark Hyde, and this is the GNCC Series presented by Suzuki. Mark, I'm looking forward to an excellent race here today because of this facility. It is fantastic.
Yeah, we have a big change in soil this time around. We have the red clay from Georgia. We have a bunch of nice woods and a really nice motocross track.
Well, as Bob Walker will tell us, the red clay is the big factor.
Georgia red clay. Last week it was the Okeechobee sand. This week it's the Georgia red clay. Look at this stuff here. It's thick, it's sticky, it's gooey. It's going to weigh the bikes down and it's going to cause fatigue. Not only that, it's going to rut up. We expect the ruts to get 2 and 3 feet deep in this section here. It's going to cause the riders to ride into these trees. The ruts are going to crisscross. There's no way around this section here. It's going to create passing opportunities and it's going to create crashing opportunities. We're going to keep an eye on it throughout the races.
Well, thanks, Bob. As we take a look at the starting lineup, Mark, what is the favorite part of this racetrack that you might have?
I really like the elevation changes we have here, plus the woods. The speed that these guys are going to go through these tight trees is just going to be unbelievable.
Now that's phenomenal. And you know what I like? I like the contrast coming out of the woods, breaking into the motocross track. It's just unbelievable. We'll get a great sampling of all kinds of cross-country riding here today. Now we're just about set for the start, and like all GNCC events, it's a dead engine start. Wow, Paul Edmondson had to quick kick twice, and man, he's going to pay for that. He is way back in the field.
And look at Jimmy Jarrett. He is 2 for 2 on the hole shots. As you recall, in Florida, he did the very same thing. Jumped out there early. Freddie Andrews is right behind him. Rodney Smith is there. Oh, we got a rider down that first corner.
And that creates a problem for 4 or 5 riders, let alone the one that went down. A little breakaway with about, 7, 8 riders, and then a gap back to the rest of the field. But Jarrett is showing the field the short way around the track as Fred Andrews moved into second place.
Oh, and here comes Freddie. He's not done with second place. He's going for the lead.
And Fred Andrews takes over the front runner's position. Don't forget, he's the rider coming off an injury. I wonder, is he setting too fast a pace too early?
Well, what I think Freddie's trying to do here is he knows he's hurt. He knows this is an extremely tight course, and by getting up front, he can control the pace and maybe prevent that injury from giving him too much trouble.
There's Shane Watts back in 6th place. Ahead of him, a Paso full of good riders, started by this guy, Fred Andrews. He's the leader. Running in the number 2 possession is Jarrett. We have Rodney Smith holding down 3rd. There goes Smith to the inside, and Smith takes the measure of Jarrett. He moves into 2nd place.
Rodney's using those GP motocross skills to get to the front of the pack. He was very disappointed with his ride in Florida. In fact, the whole team Suzuki, they left Florida the day after the race and came up Georgia early to test.
Mark, let's take another look at the start.
Yeah, what happened here, what we want to look at is Paul Edmondson, number 2 on the Kawasaki, coming into the middle of your screen. Right after this guy goes down, he had that 2-kick start. He gets in back with the people he shouldn't be with, and here he is just having more problems.
he paid the price for getting off the line poorly. Normally, you would find Edmondson at the head end of the pack. Today, it's reversed. Andrews, Smith, and there was Rodney's wife. She was giving him a big thumbs up, saying, okay, Rodney, go. He has to be happy with the way he's riding right now.
Especially after his performance down in Florida. And you'll notice, too, people, they'll have markers out on course. Oh,
there's look there, coming through Paul Edmondson. That's how far back he is. That's one of the checkpoints out in the woods to ensure that all the riders ride every inch of the course. And Edmondson was way back in the pack. Fred Andrews down to Thunderdome for the first time today.
Yeah, Rodney Smith is right on him. Freddie doesn't look stiff on the bike to me. That injury is just, I think, still bothering him, and he's doing the smart thing. He's out front, he's controlling the pace, so hopefully he can last the whole 3 hours.
Well, he said every time he hits a bump, it bothers him. It hurts his back. Now, I know these guys are tough, but I honestly don't see how Fred is able to put up with that much pain. But he is, and cross-country riders do that thing.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to put up with some pains and bumps and bruises because this is a long season and every point counts, so you got to make it happen when you can.
Steve Hatch just flashed down the hill in 7th place. He is definitely on the move, headed toward the front, and we'll be back. Welcome back. This is Cross Country Racing, and that is Fred Andrews, rider number 3, running in 2nd place. There's Rodney Smith, and there is Jarrett and Mike Kidrowski running 4th.
Yeah, Mike's off his best finish ever in GNCC's in the Florida round, and I think after a year of GNCC racing, he's getting this woods thing figured out.
It'll take him a while. Certainly when they get to the motocross sections of the course, he's extremely fast, as is Fred Andrews and Rodney Smith. I guess we can't give anything away to those guys. They just move fast all over the place.
Yeah, we have Freddie Andrews, who's a former national motocross rider.
There goes Kidrowski underneath, and Kidrowski now moves into 3rd, taking advantage of that motocross experience. And Steve Hatch passed another one. He's up to 5th place.
And there goes Scott Summers, Doug Blackwell, Jason Raines. Boy, we have a whole gang. They're just glued together, it seems like, so far this race.
It's amazing to me they can ride that close together at speed. And Rodney Smith has taken over the lead from Fred Andrews.
Rodney, he won this race too.
Kidrowski looking down at the rear portion of his motorcycle, Mark, and he's being passed. There's something obviously wrong there.
Yeah, because you wouldn't expect Josh McLeavy, even though he's a great rider, to pass Kidrowski on the motocross course.
Well, he was definitely looking down, and here comes Paul Edmondson. He's doing everything that he can, but boy, he is fighting a losing battle.
He really looked off the pace there. I wonder if that shoulder injury is still bothering him. Oh, check out Steve Hatch.
Hatch made a move. That was some kind. There was no trail there.
You know, I think Kidrowski had the upper hand on the motocross course, but Steve said, you know what? This is woods, and that's what I do best.
See that tree? Move over, Michael, he said. Through the finish checkpoint for the first time today goes Rodney Smith, and he will be checked and recorded. There's Fred Andrews.
You know, if I was Rodney, knowing that Freddie's hurt, and now that he's in the lead, he should try to make a breakaway at this point to get some distance on the other guys. Especially this is a course that Rodney is very comfortable with. He was 2nd here last year and won here the year before that.
I think we both know, and we all should know, Rodney's abilities will allow him to win anywhere. The 2-time champ right now is controlling the pace of this race, as Hatch is now in 3rd place and continuing his move to the front. He's got some momentum behind him right now, Mark. Is that important?
Yes, it is. He's one of those guys that just feeds off good results.
Oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. You want to talk about the Big Mo? Wow, did he make a move or what?
Steve is really trying to get around Freddie here. Oh, and while he's trying to do that, Josh about stuffed him.
He did. You know, this is primarily a motocross park surrounded by great trails, but it's a motocross park first and foremost. So how did it become a GNCC playground?
Back when I was racing, I had a lot of guys that I looked up to, you know, I wanted to be like them, being champions and promoting. I kind of look up to the guy named Dave Coombs that started all this stuff, and I said, hey, we ought to have one here, because we'd had a couple hare scrambles before, and he came up and looked at the property and decided to have one, and it's just a big event that's growing and getting bigger and bigger every year, and it gives me a lot of clout, I think, to have a GNCC at this event.
Donnie mentioned the late Dave Coombs, and I think all of us that are interested in cross-country racing aware that Coombs is really the father of the sport, I think. Out on the trail, they are ripping it up. They're close together. The action is fast and furious. This is unbelievable. There's Rodney. He's your leader. He flashes out of the woods and onto the trail, followed by Andrews, and Hatch is so close with McLevy right there. And Kidrowski just hollered something to the Suzuki pit guy that's standing there.
Yeah, he's got something going wrong with that bike. At this point, we don't know what it is, but we'll probably find out soon enough.
I would imagine, and I certainly hope that we don't find out because he breaks down. But he's definitely got a problem.
Boy, and Shane Watts, he snuck up to the front of the pack there. He's not very far behind those guys.
Well, Shane Watts is riding a 200cc motorcycle, a little smaller than the rest of the field. He did not get the best of starts, but he certainly is making the proverbial hay while the sun is shining. And there's Scott Summers, not riding 100%, but getting his licks in and getting a few points. Rodney Smith continues. Hatch is taking over second. Fred Andrews is no longer there. There he is. Andrews has dropped back away off the pace. The running order now is Rodney Smith and Steve Hatch, the two Suzuki riders out front.
And again, we talked about it earlier. This might be a great opportunity for Steve and Rodney to get away if Freddie's holding everybody up.
Could be. Kidrowski, we saw him go through in 7th. He was up in 4th. So the problem, whatever it is, continues to plague Mike Kidrowski.
Uh-oh.
And Hatch snuck by. He used one of those shortcut moves to sneak by Rodney Smith.
It kind of looked like Rodney led him by there. He went a little wide, looked over, and just, like I said, he might want to follow Steve and learn a thing or two. Hey, did you hear that, Larry?
Something about a shift.
He said it wouldn't shift. He's stuck in one gear. Hopefully that gear is third, because that would be the only opportunity on this course to keep a good pace all day if they can't get the problem fixed.
And Shane Watts has moved into 3rd place. Oh, he looks smooth, he looks comfortable, and he looks fast.
Yes, and that's kind of surprising because he just did a 6-hour drive last night after trying to attempt to qualify for the Daytona Supercross.
Oh, that's a very good point. How is his physical conditioning? He's going to ride this course after all that he did yesterday. He's going to ride this course for 3 hours. We'll see how that plays out. Meanwhile, Steve Hatch continues to lead Rodney Smith. And Hatch, what a remarkable ride from out of the pack. He passed Andrews, he passed Rodney Smith, and now is in 1st place, and Shane Watts is giving chase. Paul Edmondson. Paul Edmondson has ducked into the pits. It looks like he's through for the day. We'll be back. Welcome back to Grand National Cross Country Racing presented by Suzuki. Mark, let's take a look at the race reset and bring folks up to date.
Boy, it's been great so far, Larry. We've already had 4 different leaders. The KTMs are on the move, and it looks like Paul Edmondson's bad luck is continuing.
Edmondson scored no points in the opening round and will score no points here in Georgia at Paradise Park. Currently scoring big time, though, on the motocross track is Steve Hatch, followed closely by Rodney Smith. And here comes Shane Watts in 3rd. You know, Watts is remarkably smooth.
Oh, he is. That's one of the biggest things that everybody comments. It looks like he's out on a trail ride.
You know, it looks like he's not going anywhere. Michael Lafferty, on the other hand, never claimed to be a motocrosser. And he sometimes rides that bike from side to side and all over the racetrack, like that.
Yes, but he does claim to be an enduro rider, and between Florida and this race, he stopped off at Daytona and won the overall at the Alligator Enduro.
And I'd also point out when he's going from side to side, he is going fast. At the head of the pack, Steve Hatch is being chased by Rodney Smith. These guys are really good friends, and that's not that way with all riders involved in that pit area, Mark.
That is true, and Shane Watts is one of those. He kind of does the Australian thing. He's like out on a walkabout.
Well, he walks about to the beat of his own drummer, I'll tell you that. Jen Hildreth takes a look at Shane Watts.
Shane Watts is a little different. The defending champ doesn't walk the course, he's almost always the last to arrive, and he does all of his own work on his motorcycle. Yet Watts feels like he has the perfect mix of ingredients to repeat as the champion, and it all starts with believing that you can.
Confidence is something that I rely on heavily, and once I know that I'm prepared and my bike's good, and I'm very confident, I pretty much don't see myself losing. It's, I just envision myself crossing the finish line and getting the checker flag first, beating everyone, and getting to spray the champagne.
Yet in this series, 1 or 2 sprays of champagne won't be enough. You must be consistent. A quality Watts feels his competition may be lacking.
Like I said before, they seem to be able to have the ability to put 1 or 2 good races together, then they have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 bad races, and you know, they just don't seem to be all that consistent. And there's a couple of guys who have got extraordinary talent, but they lack a few other ingredients to be a contender for the championship. So I certainly don't take it for granted that I'm going to be on the podium every week, but I know that I've got the ability probably to be the only guy out there to do that for the whole season. The other guys can't seem to string it together.
As for Wattsy's personal peccadillos, don't fault the man for what he comes by, honestly.
I'm very Australian, I suppose you could say, and it's just who I am, casual, and I don't have anyone helping me. Actually, as of today, it's only 2 hours until the race. I haven't got anyone organised to do my pit yet, so I'll find someone. If not, I'll just do it myself. I'm not really stressed about it. I'm here to have a good time, and I enjoy doing that. I don't need all the extra assistance that a lot of the other teams and the riders think's necessary. So if they want to do that, fine for them. That's they can do that, but I don't need to do it, and I'm not about to start to do it. And I'm just doing my own show and having a great time doing it.
Meanwhile, in the pits, not such a great time. Let's go to Bob Walker.
Bad luck again in the Kawasaki camp. Paul Edmondson, what happened out there?
Got a pretty bad start. I was trying to make my way through the pack, and there's an Italian rider out there, and he just took me clean out. He came straight across in front of me. Just took me out for no reason at all, really. It's bad enough racing in the dust, but when you're on a motocross track where you can see where you're going, and the guy just cut straight in front of you, and you got nowhere to go, so just stupid, really. There's no need for it.
Mark, you have to feel for the former world enduro champion. No points in round 1, no points in round 2. Steve Hatch followed by Smith and Watts. That's the running order. We'll be back on Fox Sports Net. Stick with us. Welcome back to cross country racing, and if we got a battle out front, Rodney Smith is your leader, number 31. Right behind him, his brother-in-law, his good friend, Steve Hatch, and Suzuki teammate. They have really been going at it. Hatch almost, he tried to go underneath Rodney. He almost got the job done.
Boy, I tell you, I would hate to be one of these lap riders out on the course right now. These guys are just flying, and these B and C riders, they just don't know what to think of the speed they're seeing.
I think we probably should tell everyone that there are a lot of riders out here being passed. Now, they're not all pros. There are several different classes that are mixed into this race. And some of the guys, in fact, all of the guys being passed right now are riders that have not reached the pro level at this point in their career.
No, they have not, but the neat thing is they will have some unbelievable stories to tell their friends, where Steve Hatch used them for a berm, or they saw Rodney Smith pick a great line and they followed him and they didn't get stuck. So it's a real thrill for them to be on a course with guys this talented.
Oh, they are hammering each other. Rodney, look at that.
Oh,
look
man.
At that. A motocrosser, a motocrosser today, a guy that's all he's riding, could not get around that course any faster, I swear. There's Josh McLevy. He's making his way around the motocross track, and McLevy's not quite as comfortable out there as Rodney and Hatch.
No, but since most of this course is in the woods, he's doing all right out there for himself.
And Jim Jarrett, rider number 7. Jarrett has dropped off the pace slightly. And first gas coming up. There's Hatch coming in. Steve Hatch, quick dump can, puts some fuel into his bike. Smith is in the pits already. There. Oh, you know what? Hatch got out before Smith.
What happened there is Steve never shut his bike off. Rodney had to restart his, and he was gone.
Shane Watts is headed to the pits for fuel.
Yeah, and he was looking for somebody to fuel him earlier, and it didn't look like there was enough fuel in that dump can to fill him up.
There wasn't. That dump can he's having trouble getting what was in the can into the bike.
And you can see the can is empty, and they're still waiting because that dump can holds about 4 gallons, and the gas tank on the KTM is about 3.2 gallons, and he's going to have to stop again or he's going to run out of gas today.
That's a good point. Now, is it possible as we watch Rodney Smith getting it on, trying to catch Steve Hatch now, is it possible that maybe Shane just did not use that much gas?
No, these guys are going too fast for that. Look at Michael, same gas tank, same quick fill. You could see his quick fill was all the way to the top, and Shane's wasn't even half full.
Yeah, look at there. He's even got enough. They're going to let it run right over the top.
Alan was giving him a free bike wash while he was at it.
Alan Brandt, that's the mechanic for Mike Lafferty. And what is he talking about? He said he did it again.
I know in Florida they had problems when they gassed up Michael. The bike started sputtering like it was loading up, and I know Alan made a few changes to the bike to solve that problem, but it doesn't look like they have that problem fixed just yet.
And a little bit of dust out on the racetrack as they have hit the flat track portion of the racetrack.
Boy, Michael's really doing a nice job here today. Ho-ho, and look, Rodney Smith, he's gotten back around his brother-in-law. He's back in the front.
It could be that Hatch just said, I took unfair advantage of you in the pit, so you go ahead and get by me. Here comes Shane Watts. And Mark, his style is effortless.
Yeah, he just looks so smooth out on the bike, like he's not doing anything. And let's watch this Fox Sports Net Moto Cam and see what's really going on out there.
The Moto Cam is mounted on the helmet of a chase rider. So you get some idea of how fast they're going just by watching the trees, branches, roots, ruts whistle on by. And you can see how rough the racetrack is. There's no way that Moto Cam, that I can believe there's anyway, is able to get video at all. But it is shaking up, it's breaking up, just because the terrain is so rough.
Yeah, you can really have a good idea what these guys go through for 3 hours.
Did you hear that howl? That was Shane Watts. He wanted to get by our Moto Cam, and he did. He wasted no time in doing it. But that's basically how the riders communicate out in the woods. They just give a holler when they want to make a pass.
I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of guys hearing that today.
I think you're right. The pace that these riders are running in. There's Rodney Smith. He's your leader, and he's opened up just a slight gap, a hair gap, over Hatch, and it looks to me like Shane has closed considerably on the rear wheel of Steve Hatch.
Yeah, here we following Shane again, see what he's doing to get up with the front leaders.
Watts through this extremely tight, rutted course, carving his own way on occasion. There is a trail there, but often they find it faster just to ignore the trail and shoot a kitty corner to cross the corner. I don't know how they manage to stay upright doing that, but all I can say is they are phenomenal riders. Jim Jarrett, rider number 7, being chased by Jason Raines and Josh McLeavy. You know, it's good to point out that the guys up front aren't the only guys going fast out here in this woods.
Yes, and that group of riders we just saw, they're kind of the young up-and-comers, and it's nice that they're racing together now because I think we're going to see that group for many years to come.
Speaking of racing, Hatch has closed on Rodney Smith one more time. Lap riders out on the track could be the culprit, and Smith shortcuts that downhill section just a little bit as he makes his way on the motocross track and tries to open that gap again on Steve Hatch. Things are heating up at the GNCC. Welcome back. This is Grand National Cross Country Racing presented by Suzuki, and we have got a good one here.
Yes, we do. Rodney Smith, he's back out in front, doing a really nice job on this course. And when a rider does win at a track, he gets very comfortable on that track, and I think that's what we're seeing out of Rodney today, especially after that 6th place finish he had in Florida.
There is Steve Hatch running in the number 2 position, and not far behind him, we'll find the number 1 machine, and there it is, of Shane Watts, the defending champ. And back in 4th place is Mike Lafferty, another KTM rider. But right now, these 3 guys, all within sight of each other, have just a little bit of motivation because they can see each other, and they're going as hard as they can possibly go.
Yeah, I noticed too back there, Shane Watts was looking back to see if he sees anybody. I think what he's doing here is trying to plan some race strategy. He knows if there's no way close behind him, he can take some chances maybe to put some moves on these 2 Suzuki guys.
And Hatch again has closed the gap, and here comes Watts. Now he's watching the gap between himself and those 2 riders, so he's kind of in an advantage there. There's Lafferty in 4th place. He's out on the motocross track also.
Yeah, Michael, he's just improved his motocross skills quite a bit from what it used to be. Even though we don't have a ton of motocross, there's a little bit of it in all the tracks we ride, so you have to improve at every area.
There's Smith, and here comes Hatch. That's a little bit of a messy bit of terrain there that they just negotiated with no problem. You see the lesser riders having all kinds of problems. That's just kind of a testament to the skill of these guys.
Yeah, that could be really neat come the end of the race because that's about a 1/4 mile from the finish, and if you're coming down there battling for the lead, there's some really interesting things that could happen in that mud hole.
Both riders checked through the check. There was Shane Watts just about to be checked through. There'll be no stopping for fuel this go-round.
Yeah, and here we have Michael again, just coming off the motocross track, heading back into his specialty, the woods.
Jimmy Jarrett has dropped back to the number 10 position. It's almost like Jarrett is having some kind of a problem out there.
Yeah, because Jimmy put on a real strong ride at the last round where he held off Larry Ward to finish 4th.
There you get some kind of an idea as to how far Shane Watts is behind. And because he stayed so consistent, as we're about to jump aboard our Fox Sports Net Moto Cam for a ride in the woods, and we'll chase Rodney Smith and Steve Hatch. Is it possible that Steve is allowing Rodney to stay out front?
Oh, that's possible. In a race this long, sometimes you have some down times and you just let the other guy go, so you jump behind him and he picks you up for a while.
Well, we wondered if these riders could be in any other sport, what would they choose as their vocation? Steve Hatch leads off the Suzuki Rider Spotlight.
Definitely Michael Schumacher at Formula One.
Why?
I think I've just dreamt of being a Formula One driver since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, and my dad used to race cars, and I got to meet Mario Andretti and a bunch of those guys at a young age, so very influential to me.
I don't really follow many sports other than racing, so I'd have to say as far as another kind of motorcycle racing, I'd want to be Ricky Carmichael.
Why is that?
Because he's a dominant rider, you know. I mean, he's racing. Once you get to a pro level, it seems to get more mental than what it does physical and ability. And you know, you just got to kind of put yourself one step above whoever's ahead of you. And you know, he's really good at making whatever adjustments is necessary to win. You know, I mean, if he's not winning, he's going to win. He's going to make the adjustment that he needs to win.
I don't play it a lot, but golf seems to be it, man. Those guys are real. It's a real mental game, I think, and I think that's cool. Like Tiger Woods and those guys, they're really headstrong, really mind smart, and I think that'd be kind of cool. Professional golfer or something like that.
Yeah, and for sure it would be a lot less taxing on the body, right, Mark?
Yeah, just think how much fun it would be to ride one of these bikes on a golf course.
Mike Lafferty cruising around, trying to make a dent, or put a dent rather, in the gap that is between himself and the guys that are at the head of the pack.
Yeah, and Michael, he brought up an important point about the mental part. He's in a position right now where he has to be strong mentally because he has nobody really close in front of him and nobody really close behind him. So he's kind of on an island, and he's got to push pretty hard to either catch up or at least stay ahead of the guy in 5th.
First and second place have gone through. There's Shane Watts in 3rd. Back with a moto cam.
And here we have Michael. He's still charging hard. Like I said, these tight woods, this is what he does best at. And I think that's why he's up front here today, and he's been there all day.
Is Michael the fastest rider in America when it comes to tight woods these days?
Well, with 3 national enduro championships to his credit, I would say so.
You've answered that question. Mike Lafferty doing the best he can in Grand National Championship cross country. Yeah, you know what? Mike has tried this sport for the last years, but has only gotten serious in the last, I think, 1 year. And the improvement has been very vast. He's got a future in this Grand National Cross Country Championship racing.
Yeah, and the great thing about it being on the KTM with Shane Watts is Shane takes all the pressure off him. As you keep, Shane is up front in front of Rodney.
Shane Watts has passed Rodney Smith. We have a new leader. Where is Hatch? There was Hatch. And, here's Hatch. Hatch has dropped off the pace considerably from the last time we saw them. Could have been a little problem there.
When they're running this close, it doesn't take much to get some separation like that. If he just tipped over a little bit, these guys would be gone. But Shane Watts is the one that kind of went from 3rd to 1st in not too much time.
Rodney Smith now chasing Shane Watts. Here's Steve Hatch, the one-time leader. He's back in 3rd. 4th place is Mike Lafferty. He's well off the pace.
Wow, Shane is just kind of like, we talked about it earlier. Oh, you saw Rodney Smith go for his roll-offs there. That's kind of like a roll of clear camera film that goes over their goggles, and when they get mud on them, they can just pull a little string and they keep getting new vision.
Mark, Mike Lafferty is still pushing hard.
Yes, he is. And when you're up this close, you have to the whole race, because on a track like this, things can happen. People can have problems like we've seen a few times already today. And he could find himself on the podium without too much trouble.
And that's why Steve Hatch, rider number 4, is not about to give up. And someone is out.
That's Jimmy Jarrett. Looks like an ice bag there on the knee. We saw him a while back. He was back in 10th place. That must have been what happened to him.
We'll be back with more Watts, Smith, Hatch, and Lafferty right after this. Welcome back to Grand National Cross Country Racing presented by Suzuki. There's your leader. It's Rodney Smith. Now you recall when we went to break, Rodney was in 2nd place. Shane Watts was the leader. Now Rodney is in the lead. Steve Hatch is in 2nd place, and there is Watts in 3rd. Let's show you how that all came about.
Well, remember, Larry, earlier in the race when we said Shane Watts did not have enough gas to get to the finish? Well, he knows that. And here he comes in. You can see him, since the KTM has the translucent tank, he was looking down at the tank, comes in to get a splash. Rodney goes by, and Steve Hatch goes by as well.
So when Watts left the pits, he was in 3rd place. It was because of that gas error that we caught earlier in the program. Meanwhile, the Moto Cam right behind Rodney Smith as he's looking for shortcuts, looking for any way possible to get through the woods as fast as possible because he knows that Shane Watts is coming.
Exactly. Rodney, he was the first person to see Shane go into the pits, so he's trying really hard now to make up time and get away because he doesn't want to give Shane a chance to get back at him.
Mike Lafferty on the race course. Lafferty, of course, knows what the situation is.
And you can see Rodney, he really looks like he's charging now and trying to take advantage of that Watts mistake.
Well, Rodney will dig down deep. He's got to come up with just a little bit extra. He knows that Watts caught him before. He does not want it to happen again. And in the process of doing that, he is putting a little distance between himself and his riding buddy, Steve Hatch.
Yes, and Steve has to get after it too. He knows Shane was in the pits, and this is a great opportunity for the two of them, especially Steve, because he finished 3rd in Florida. If he gets a 2nd here, that's going to put him into 2nd place in the point standings.
And a look at Watts to see how far he is behind. You be the judge. It is not very far by any means. Back at the front of the pack. Boy, Smith is cutting some mean laps right now.
Oh, he got a little bit out of shape right there, and that just comes from the fact he knows he was given a gift and he wants to take full advantage of that.
He was on the ragged edge and he almost went over the side of the edge. That's what you're trying to say.
Yep, and then we're back to Michael. Michael in that Thunderdome section. He's doing a nice job here today. Boy, if he can finish in the top 5, that's just going to really boost up his GNCC career.
Currently setting in 4th place, and he's not about to let that get away. He's riding a good, hard race out there.
Yes, he is, and with Rodney up front like he is, I think he took those words to heart that when Shane Watts said he was going to win every race, Rodney says, no, I was hurt last year. You know, you took my championship away. I'm going to show you what I'm made of.
You know what? That's called adding fuel to the fire that has been burning in Rodney Smith when Shane said that. And I'll bet you you're right. That's what's running through his mind. Now that's Hatch, and Hatch still thinks he's going to catch Rodney.
Oh, yeah, Steve is one of those guys, until he crossed the finish line, there's nobody that's going to beat him. He says he never loses a race, he just runs out of time.
Well, that's the attitude of a champion, and most certainly Shane Watts is waving at someone.
I think Shane, after today, he looks to me like he's content on finishing 3rd. The 2 Suzuki guys have gotten away from him, so he's going to try to get third place points here today.
You know what? His headlight is still burning. I would have bet money that headlight would have had a stick poke through it by now, but it's still burning. Rodney Smith.
Yeah, Rodney, he's just a couple hundred feet away from the finish line here. He's going to get his first win of the year, and this was his only win of the year last year.
Yeah, well, he looked sideways real quick, and he didn't shut it off until he got under that line. Fist raised, and hey,
what do we have going on here?
From the Moto Cam, Steve Hatch.
He's not going forward. These guys are pushing him, and something has gone wrong with the bike, and it couldn't happen at a worse place.
Is he stuck in the mud?
No, because that's the mud hole right there. Oh gosh, I wonder what's happened to Steve. He's only
he
not even
power. He has no power.
He's not even a quarter mile from the finish.
Meanwhile, there's Michael Lafferty. He's in 4th place, but he is not going to be in 4th very long.
Yeah, unless Steve can get going, we know that Watts now is going to get a gift and end up in 2nd place. We got to get back to Steve, see what's going on there.
He's laying his bike down. spark plug trouble?
Oh,
no,
you know what?
It up. I know.
He is out of gas, Larry.
And he's trying to get a little bit of gas dumped back into that float bowl.
Yeah, because on the tanks, the way the frame rail runs underneath, you'll run it, the petcock's only on one side, so he's trying to get a little bit of gas from what's on the other side of the tank into that carburetor, because that's all he needs.
Get it to the inside. Cut it to the inside. Cut it to the inside. Cut the inside. Come on.
Now, Mike Lafferty is going to receive a gift. Not that he hasn't earned that gift, but boy, you want to talk about heartbreak. Look at that, 55 3/4 miles he rode today. 56 just wasn't in the books. He has to be feeling, as Mike Lafferty crosses the line in third. Got to go back to this guy, Steve Hatch, the one-time leader. He was in third, he was in second, and he was about to finish on the box in second place and runs out of gas. It's beyond my, not a fall down on the ground. Not that that means anything, but that's beyond my comprehension.
Oh, and there was his wife, Denise. She's got to be heartbroken as well as Steve.
We'll be back right after this. Grand National Cross Country Racing has been brought to you by Suzuki, CD Boots, and by Honda with deals to move on. In the Suzuki camp, two different sets of emotions. Bob Walker is with the winner.
I'm here with winner Rodney Smith. 2 years in a row, Rodney. How does it feel?
Feels really good. Actually, this is my last win last year here in Georgia. It's been good to me, and my Suzuki is working really well. My new mechanic, Casey Bolton, was working good, and God, nothing could go wrong today.
Now, Shane Watts said he was going to win all 11 rounds this year. Did that give you any extra motivation?
You know, I was out of the running last year, and I really wasn't paying attention to what everybody else was doing. I came here today to get my stuff back together and get my Suzuki back on the podium.
Here are the results. Steve Hatch finishing 5th. Mark, I know things like this have happened to you. What is he going through right now?
Oh, he's got to be crushed. To ride that hard, that long, and come that close to doing great is just a huge disappointment.
Well, let's go to Bob Walker. He's with Shane Watts. We'll find out what that extra stop was all about.
I didn't quite get enough gas the first time through, so I had to get a top up, and that's the problem. I'm just a one-man show here, one-man wrecking crew, and I just had a guy come along. I don't even know his name actually. He's helped me today, and we just didn't get enough gas. So no problem. The other guys rode really well, and it was great to get my KTM 200 up here on the podium. And I wasn't feeling all that well after a long drive from the Supercross last night, and things just didn't really work out all that well for me, but it's a long year, long championship. Second place is pretty damn good, and it's good points towards the championship. And the crowd was cheering me on so much, and I really had a lot of fun out there, especially on the big jump, whipping it out. I was really enjoying that, and I hope the crowd enjoyed it, and it was good value.
Take a look at the standings. Shane Watts retains the points lead. Rodney is second, then Hatch. Let's go back to Bob Walker.
Mike, you did it the hard way. You came from the back of the pack today.
Yeah, I definitely did. First couple of laps, my arms were pumped up, and I just wasn't feeling comfortable. I just wasn't feeling it. And after the first couple of laps, I got more comfortable, started working a little bit, passing some guys, and then once we gassed, I pretty much loosened up, started riding, started feeling good, started liking the track, and then next thing you know, I found myself in 4th. And then with less than, 2 turns ago, they said that Steve had ran out of gas, so that's unfortunate for him. That's a real bummer, but I'm glad I could put my KTM up on front and up on the podium for the first time in 2001.
Steve Hatch provided our CD Boots Thrill Seeker shot of the day, and it is a shot of disappointment. This is what Steve had to say after running out of gas with just a quarter mile to go in the race.
Lap and a half to go, I was leading and got taken out by a lapper, so that put me about 20-30 seconds down. I charged the last 2 laps, caught Watts past him, kind of was catching Rodney, and then he got through some lappers a little bit better the last half of the lap. Then I figured I'd just make sure to get second and cruise it on in, and it's just disheartening to feel the bike start to run out of gas. I was just, I gave it everything I got, and thanks to a lot of fans, they helped out, and we got it across. I think I ended up 5th, but it's nothing what I expected, and really expected to win, or worst case scenario, I get second today.
Boy, Larry, I have been where Steve is at, and words cannot describe the disappointment. He rode as hard as he could for 3 hours, and to have something like that happen is just devastating. But knowing Steve like I do, in 2 weeks when the series resumes, he is going to be all over it.
That's called the heart of a champion, and Steve has one. Hey, for Bob Walker, Jen Hildreth, Mark Hyde, I'm Larry Myers. So long, everyone.